Right now, a NASCAR team is literally checking gas station prices before they drive their trucks to the next race. That is how bad things have gotten. The war between the United States and Iran has sent fuel prices through the roof, and while most of us are feeling it at the pump, there is one place you probably did not expect it to hit this hard in NASCAR. Let me explain. As of March 31st, the national average price for diesel fuel in America crossed $5.40 a gallon. $5.40. Now, think about that for a second. NASCAR teams do not just show up to the track in a minivan. They drive massive haulers across the country, carrying race cars, parts, tools, and equipment. That takes a lot of diesel. A whole lot of diesel. And right now, every single gallon is burning a hole in their wallets. Now, after President Donald Trump gave a national address on Wednesday, prices did come down a tiny bit. But here's the thing. The damage was already done. Teams had already been dealing with these sky-high costs for weeks, and for one team in particular, it has been a real problem. That team is Kaulig Racing. Chris Rice is the president of Kaulig Racing. He went on Sirius XM NASCAR radio on Thursday, and he was very open about what his team has been going through. He did not sugarcoat it at all. Rice said it has been big. And then he shared something really interesting, kind of a behind-the-scenes look at how his team is trying to survive these fuel prices. He said that back in January, they were spending a ton of money just on fuel, not race fuel, travel fuel. Moving parts from one place to another, picking things up, dropping things off, just the everyday stuff that keeps a race team running. And all of that takes diesel. So, what did they do? They created a group text. Seriously, Rice said the team now has something called the Traveling Group Text for Kaulig Racing, and the whole point of it is to plan their trips better. If they can wait one extra day and pick up more stuff in a single trip instead of making 2 trips, they will do that. They are combining runs. They are being smart about every single mile they drive. But it does not stop there. Rice said he personally went to their truck hauler drivers, the guys who drive the big rigs that carry the race cars, and told them to keep an eye on fuel prices. He gave them a very specific example, too. He said since they were only going to Rockingham for the next race, did they really need to fill the hauler all the way up? Maybe they could save some money by not topping it off completely. Think about that. President of a NASCAR team is telling his drivers not to fill up the tank all the way. That is how tight things are right now. Rice also said the team is watching fuel prices every day, hoping they come down, and they are actually looking for gas stations that sell fuel a little bit cheaper. They are shopping around for the best price on diesel, just like you or me, looking for the cheapest gas in town. And here's the quote that really sums it all up. Rice said, "Every dollar matters with us." And in the truck series, every dollar. Not every $1,000, not every 100, every single dollar. Now, to understand why this is hitting Kaulig so hard, you need to know a little bit about what they are doing this year. Kaulig Racing is not a small team. They run 2 full-time cars in the NASCAR Cup Series. That is the top level of the sport. So, they are already a serious operation. But this year, they took on something new. They jumped into the Truck Series with not 1, not 2, but 5 trucks. 5 trucks. That is a huge commitment. And it gets even bigger than that. Kaulig is the main team behind Ram's return to the Truck Series in 2026. So, they are not just running trucks, they are the anchor team for an entire manufacturer. That is a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility. But here is the catch. This is their very first year running a Truck Series program. That means they do not have a stockpile of parts sitting in the shop. They do not have years of data telling them exactly what they need and how much it will cost. They are building everything from scratch, and that already makes their budget higher than teams that have been doing this for years. Rice was honest about it. He said this is all costing them more than they expected. And then he mentioned something that really shows you how careful they are being with money. He said their COO, Ty Norris, tells him all the time that he has never seen someone like Rice keeping track of every spoon and fork they buy. Every spoon and fork. That is not a figure of speech about race car parts. That is Rice saying he is watching every tiny expense down to the smallest things. That is how tight the budget is. And then, the fuel prices came along and made everything worse. Rice said the fuel prices have put a huge hit into their budget. He did not try to make it sound okay. He just said it straight. It is what it is. But fuel is not the only unexpected cost. Rice also said they have torn up more fenders this year than they planned for. So, on top of the fuel crisis, they are also spending more on repairs. It is one thing after another. Rice wrapped it up by saying the fuel prices are rough right now, and coming from the president of a team that is running 7 total entries across 2 NASCAR series, that tells you everything you need to know about how serious this is. Now, there is one small piece of good news for Callig this week. The schedule actually works in their favor for once. The Cup Series is off this weekend because of Easter, so that saves them some travel money right there. And the Truck Series race on Friday, it is at Rockingham Speedway. And Rockingham just happens to be a little over an hour from the Callig Racing Shop in Lexington, North Carolina. So, for this 1 week, they do not have to drive their haulers across the country. They basically just have to go down the road. Tracks like Darlington, Martinsville, Rockingham, and Bristol are all in the region. So the team gets a bit of a break on travel costs with this part of the schedule. But that is just 1 week. After that, the haulers hit the road again, the diesel bills pile up again, and the budget gets squeezed again. And here is what really makes you think. If Callig Racing, a team with Cup Series money, a manufacturer deal with Ram, and a president who watches every penny, is struggling this much with fuel prices, what about the smaller teams? What about the guys running one truck with a tiny budget and no big sponsor? If Callig is creating group texts and shopping around for cheaper gas stations, those smaller teams must be in real trouble. The war with Iran is not just something happening on the news. It is reaching into the garage. It is changing how NASCAR teams plan their weeks. It is making presidents of race teams tell their drivers not to fill up the tank. And it is putting real financial stress on a sport that already runs on razor-thin margins. The thing people forget is that NASCAR is not just about what happens on the track. There is a massive operation behind every single race. Cars need to get there. Parts need to get there. People need to get there. And all of that costs fuel. When diesel is over $5 a gallon, those costs add up fast. We are talking about teams that travel to over 30 races a year, sometimes driving their haulers thousands of miles in a single week. This is the reality of NASCAR in 2026. Fuel prices are not just a number on a sign at the gas station. For teams like Callig Racing, they are the difference between staying on budget and going into the red. And right now, every single dollar, every single gallon counts.